One Roman engineer proposed an idea so radical that naval commanders called it forbidden, a violation of every sacred principle of warfare. His controversial invention would either sink Rome's fleet or become their deadliest weapon. What made this simple device so revolutionary that it transformed Rome from a land power to master of the Mediterranean in a single battle? The wooden deck of the Carthaginian ship shook as something massive slammed down from above. Sailors looked up in terror as a huge wooden bridge crashed onto their ship with a thunderous boom. The strange device's metal spike dug deep into the deck, locking the two ships together like a giant claw. Before the confused Carthaginian crew could react, heavily armored Roman soldiers charged across the bridge, swords drawn and shields ready. "This is not naval warfare!" screamed a Carthaginian officer before a Roman sword silenced him forever. It was 260 BCE at the Battle of Mylae, and Rome's most controversial weapon was proving its deadly worth. Just months earlier, naval experts had condemned this device as forbidden folly that violated every principle of naval combat. The unnamed Roman engineer who designed it had been ridiculed, his ideas dismissed as dangerous madness that would doom more Roman ships than enemy vessels. But now, as Roman soldiers streamed across these boarding bridges, transforming sea battles into land combat, his forbidden innovation was changing naval warfare forever. The proud Carthaginian navy, masters of the sea for hundreds of years, watched in horror as their ships were captured one by one. Not through clever sailing or better ships, but because one engineer's radical idea had turned the sea into land. By evening, the water around Mylae was filled with broken ships and floating bodies. The Romans had captured or destroyed nearly 50 Carthaginian ships, while losing almost none. But Rome's amazing victory didn't start here. Just months earlier, Rome had no real navy at all. Rome was a land power with strong armies, but terrible ships. Carthage ruled the seas with fast, skilled ships operated by crews who had sailed their whole lives. When war broke out between the two powers in 264 BCE, everyone knew who would win at sea. "Rome cannot win a war at sea against Carthage," said every expert at the time. "It would be like teaching eagles to swim or fish to fly." The Roman Senate faced a grim choice: give up Sicily and accept defeat, or somehow challenge Carthage at sea. Desperate, they launched a crash program to build a fleet. When a Carthaginian ship wrecked near Rome, they took it apart and copied it piece by piece. Within months, they built 120 warships. But having ships wasn't enough. Roman sailors were clumsy and inexperienced compared to the skilled Carthaginians. That's when a Roman engineer, whose name is lost to history, made a suggestion so radical that naval commanders thought he was crazy. "Let our soldiers fight on water the same way they fight on land," he proposed, showing sketches of a strange boarding device. The naval experts were horrified. "This device will sink more Roman ships than enemy vessels," they warned. "It's too heavy, too clumsy. Ships are meant to ram and maneuver, not lock together in battle." The device violated every rule of proper naval warfare. But Rome was losing the war. The Senate was desperate. "Your idea is forbidden by all naval tradition," the Senate told the engineer. "But tradition isn't winning this war. Build your device and test it." The engineer set to work, creating what would later be called the Corvus, the Raven, a simple but deadly invention that would transform Rome's worst weakness into its greatest strength, and create the deadliest naval weapon the ancient world had ever seen. The Corvus, or Raven in Latin, was unlike anything seen before in naval warfare. Picture a wooden bridge, 36 feet long and 4 feet wide, with tall railings on both sides. This massive structure stood upright against the ship's mast when not in use. At the front of every Roman warship, a tall pole held this bridge high in the air, ready to drop. The real genius was in how it worked. Heavy ropes ran through pulleys, letting sailors quickly lower the bridge onto enemy ships. At the end of the bridge was a massive iron spike, shaped like a raven's beak, that would punch through the wooden deck of enemy ships, locking the two vessels together. Once locked, the enemy couldn't escape. "This is madness," said Roman naval officers when they first saw it. "Ships need to be light and quick to survive at sea." They weren't wrong. The corvus weighed over a ton, as heavy as 10 large men. This weight made Roman ships slower and more likely to tip over in bad weather. Naval experts pointed out 3 deadly problems. First, ships with the corvus rode too high in the water, making them unstable in strong waves. Second, the heavy bridge on the front of the ship made it harder to steer and slower to turn. Third, in storms, the weight could cause ships to roll over and sink, drowning entire crews. "What good is winning battles if the sea itself kills us?" the naval commanders argued. But the engineer knew something the naval experts didn't understand. Rome didn't need to beat Carthage at traditional naval warfare. They needed to change the game entirely. The corvus turned ships into floating bridges, allowing Rome's superior infantry to board enemy vessels and fight hand-to-hand, where Romans excelled. "Let Carthage have better sailors," the engineer told the skeptical Senate. "We have better soldiers. The corvus lets our soldiers walk onto their ships." For weeks, Roman crews practiced with the strange device. Sailors struggled with the heavy mechanism while soldiers practiced charging across the narrow bridge. Many accidents happened. Bridges missed their targets, men fell into the sea, and ships nearly capsized during practice. The naval officers demanded the project be stopped. "This will get more Romans killed than enemies," they insisted. But with each practice run, the crews got better. The engineer made small improvements, adjusting the counterweights, refining the locking mechanism, strengthening the railings to protect charging soldiers. Finally, after weeks of testing, the Senate made its decision. Despite the risks, every ship in Rome's new fleet would be fitted with a corvus. The engineer had won his fight against tradition. "You've given Rome a new way to fight at sea," the Senate told him. "Now we must see if it works in real battle." No one knew then that this forbidden device would soon transform Rome from a land power into the greatest naval force in the Mediterranean. The Battle of Mylae in 260 BCE was the first real test of the corvus. As the Roman fleet approached, Carthaginian sailors laughed at the clumsy Roman ships with strange devices on their bows. The Carthaginian admiral arranged his ships in a straight line, planning to use their speed to ram and sink the Romans. "Look at these farmers trying to sail," one Carthaginian captain reportedly said. "This will be over by midday." But when the ships got close, the Romans dropped their corvée with a thunderous crash. The heavy bridges slammed onto Carthaginian decks, the iron spikes digging deep into the wood. Suddenly, the fastest ships in the Mediterranean couldn't move. Before the shocked Carthaginian crews could react, Roman soldiers poured across the bridges. The sea battle instantly became a land battle. Carthaginian sailors, lightly armed and trained for sailing, faced heavily armored Roman legionaries who fought as a tight unit. The result was brutal. By day's end, Rome had captured or sunk 31 Carthaginian ships without losing a single Roman vessel. News of the strange Roman weapons spread quickly, but the true power of the corvus wasn't fully revealed until the Battle of Cape Ecnomus in 256 BCE. This massive clash involved over 330 ships and 150,000 men, one of the largest naval battles in ancient history. The Carthaginians came prepared with a new plan. Their ships would stay far from the Romans and use arrows and throwing spears from a distance. But the Romans had improved their rowing skills. Their ships, while still slower, could now catch the Carthaginians. Once again, the corvée crashed down, and once again, Roman infantry turned the sea red with Carthaginian blood. "The Romans don't sail against us," a captured Carthaginian officer said. "They build bridges over the water and walk." After Cape Ecnomus, Carthaginian ships often fled rather than fight when they saw Roman vessels approaching. The mighty Carthaginian navy, which had ruled the Mediterranean for generations, now avoided battles when possible. In just 5 years, Rome had gone from having almost no navy to controlling the sea. They captured Sicily and even landed armies in Africa, threatening Carthage itself. The Roman Senate awarded the inventor of the corvus a special honor, though his name was not recorded in surviving histories. But the naval experts' warnings eventually came true. In 255 BCE, a massive storm hit the Roman fleet off Sicily. The top-heavy ships with their heavy corvi couldn't handle the giant waves. Nearly 300 Roman ships sank, drowning as many as 100,000 men, the worst naval disaster in ancient history. More ships were lost to storms in the following years. The Romans slowly realized the corvus had a deadly flaw. It made ships dangerous in bad weather. By 250 BCE, Rome began removing the devices from their ships. Roman crews had gained enough experience to fight without them. The corvus disappeared from history almost as quickly as it had appeared. But by then, it had already helped Rome gain control of the sea, an advantage they would never lose. Rome eventually defeated Carthage and became the greatest power in the Mediterranean world. While the corvus wasn't used in later wars, it had already done its job. It gave Rome time to learn how to fight at sea. The forbidden device that experts had warned against had changed history. The unnamed engineer's invention shows us something important about Rome. Unlike Carthage, which relied on tradition, Rome was willing to try new ideas, even crazy ones, if they might work. When losing, Rome didn't stick to old ways. They changed the rules. Romans aren't smarter than other people, wrote the Greek historian Polybius, who lived in Rome. But when they lose, they learn and adapt faster than anyone else. This willingness to break rules and try forbidden ideas became a pattern in military history. In 1415, the English used longbows against French knights at Agincourt. Military experts said peasants with bows could never beat noble knights in armor. They were wrong. The dishonorable longbow killed thousands of French knights. In World War I, tanks were first called land ships, and many military leaders said they would never work. But these metal monsters broke through trenches that no infantry could cross, ending years of bloody stalemate. Even the airplane faced similar resistance. "Flying machines have no place in military operations," said a French general in 1911, just 3 years before airplanes became crucial in World War I. What makes these stories similar is that in each case, someone proposed an idea that experts said was impossible, impractical, or forbidden by tradition. And in each case, the new idea changed warfare forever. The Romans stopped using the corvus after about 10 years. The device that had won them the sea had serious flaws. It made ships dangerous in storms and less maneuverable in battle. But by then, Roman sailors had gained enough experience to fight without it. The temporary solution had fixed a permanent problem. The real lesson of the corvus isn't that it was a perfect weapon. It wasn't. The real lesson is that sometimes winning requires trying ideas that experts say can't or shouldn't work. If you're enjoying this history of Rome's forbidden weapon, please subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell. We bring you detailed, well-researched military history that reveals the human decisions behind technological breakthroughs. So, here's a question worth considering. Was Rome's greatest strength its disciplined legions that followed orders perfectly? Or was it the willingness to try forbidden ideas when traditional approaches failed? Perhaps Rome's true genius wasn't just in executing plans perfectly, but in the courage to change plans entirely when necessary. In war, as in life, sometimes breaking the rules isn't just the best way to win, it's the only way.